Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Nash County Board of Commissioners meeting on a Wednesday, which is unusual for September the 7th. We did put it back a couple of days due to the holiday being on Monday. It is customary for the Board of Commissioners to begin each one of their meetings with a prayer by a city commissioner and then a pledge allegiance to the flag. And during the prayer, you're welcome to use this time for your own prayer. If you'd like to sit and do that, you're welcome to use it for a moment of silence, or, of course, you're welcome to stand and join us in the prayer. Prayer this morning would be by Commissioner Sue Leggett, and the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Wayne Outlaw. Commissioner Leggett? Stand.
Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to gather as one people. Lord, we ask for your wisdom, guidance, and discernment as we conduct the business of Nash County today. Please be with us, and may everything we do be honorable in your sight. Lord, we ask these things in your precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen. Would you join us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item 4 on the agenda is approval of the minutes, and we had one meeting in August, which was August the 1st, and entertain a motion to approve those, to correct them or add to them as anyone sees fit.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Got a motion by Commissioner Cone for approval, second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions on the motion? Was that correct? Excuse me, Mr. Belfield. See, I do it on both sides, ladies. Second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, by like sign. Minutes stand approved. Thank you, Madam Clerk, for a great job you always do. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, we are on public comments, and each first meeting of the month, the Board of Commissioners has a time that we set aside to hear from anyone that has something on their mind they'd like to talk to the board about that's not otherwise on the agenda. If you're here for a public hearing later, we would ask that you wait for that item to come up on the agenda. We do have a sign-up period out front before the meeting, and no one signed up this morning, but Commissioners are always pleased to hear from any citizens. So if someone's here that wanted to speak to the board that did not realize they needed to sign up, we'd be welcome to hear from you at this time. Anyone wish to speak to the board? Seeing no movement, we'll close out item number 5, and we'll move to item number 6, which is Nash County Forestry Service Annual Report, and I'll call on our Ranger, Seth Bogus, to present this report. And you don't know how many times I've practiced this name, and I still get up here and stumble, sir. Welcome. Bogus, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you
Is
for
this your
having me.
first report before the board?
It certainly is.
Okay,
First time
I
in
didn't
Nashville.
think you had made one quite yet. Well, welcome to Nash County. You come from somewhere else?
Originally from Surrey County, but I've lived most of my life in Edgecombe. So
Okay.
I worked there for about 6 years, and
Okay,
now I made my way over to Nash County.
well, we welcome you, sir.
Thank y'all for your time. I'll be very brief. Just mainly wanted to introduce myself. I'm Seth Bogus. I'm the Nash County Ranger with the North Carolina Forest Service. In front of you, there is a commissioner report / newsletter, just to highlight some of our accomplishments for the past fiscal year, and a little bit about who we are and what we do. My contact information is on there. If you have any questions or comments or anything I can assist you with throughout the year, please feel free to contact me and reach out. I'm more than happy to help. Again, if you have any questions for me now, I'm more happy to try to answer them. I'm a short-winded speaker, so thank you for your time, and hope y'all have a great day.
We're glad you finally got here, Seth. We lined this up sometime
Well, I
earlier, and
appreciate y'all.
complications messed that up, so we're glad to see you finally.
Yep.
Good to have you in Nash County.
Thank you, sir.
I have,
Any questions, Mr. Belfield?
yeah.
Yes, sir.
First of all, welcome to Nash County. My question is, I've been watching climate change and all these forest fires, and especially where there are parks and people go to for recreation. Are we ready in case if something like that happened here? Do we have the equipment that we need to fight a real big forest fire?
Sir, that is an excellent question. It gives me an opportunity to speak a little more about the agency I work for. So in Nash County, we have 3 Type 6 fire engines assigned to our county that are myself and 2 assistant county rangers. So one of us is on call 24/7, and if the weather dictates it, whether it be lower humidity or high winds, or been a long time since we had rain, all 3 of us may be on call at the same time. So we're paged out through the 911 system. Just anytime there's an outside fire in the county, woods fire, grass, we respond to it. If it's something that we can't handle with our engines in conjunction with the volunteer fire departments, we have a fire plow and dozer in each county surrounding us. That's part of our District 5 in the Forest Service. So there's actually 8 tractors at our disposal that we can use for putting fire breaks around a woods fire. If that's still not enough to handle it, we can call in. We have 2 what we call seat team single engine air tankers that we can use to drop water on the fire. We have 2 helicopters at our disposal that can be here. I think they're stationed in down near Lumberton. And then if it's a really big incident, in the North Carolina Forest Service, we field 2 Type 2 incident management teams. All those are resources at our disposal if they are ever needed. I know during Hurricane Floyd and Hurricane Matthew, the Type 2 incident management teams were utilized in Edgecombe County for flood recovery and search and rescue.
Okay. Yeah, that's just one of my concerns, forest management and how we can minimize having a major fire.
In Nash County and in North Carolina, 95% of our fires are caused by humans. Most of the time it's from burning debris or trash in the yard. One of the best ways to mitigate that is through public education on safe burning practices, which is what we try to do through outreach. Another way that we're trying to push in Nash County is prescribed burning. So that's where we do a controlled fire through the woods to make sure that we try to remove the fuel. So in case there is a wildfire, it burns a lot lower intensity. It's a lot easier to control that way.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from commissioners? We appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, sir. Y'all have a good day.
Next item on the agenda, item number 7, is the public hearing on conditional rezoning request CZ 220801 Bullock Farm. And I'll call on Mr. Tyson this time to make this presentation, and it is in Commissioner Outlaw's district. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. This is the first of 3 public hearings on your agenda this morning on conditional rezoning requests. This is the only one that is residential in nature. The subject property is outlined in red on the aerial photo on the left side of your screen, and it is also outlined in red on the zoning map on the right-hand side of the screen. This request or this subject property may look familiar to the board. Back on July 11th, the board previously held a public hearing on a conditional rezoning request made by the property owner to rezone this same property from R40 to RA20 CZ conditional zone. At that time, it was for the development of a 28-lot residential subdivision. The board ultimately voted to deny that request, finding that the residential density of those proposed 20,000 square foot lots would be inconsistent with the already existing 40,000 square foot lots of the immediately adjacent Baybrook Farms subdivision to the west, which of course is already developed. Since that time, the developer met with representatives of the residents of that Baybrook Farm subdivision and has therefore submitted this revised request. The subject property consists of 7 tracts of land. If you can see the yellow property lines that already divide the property that we're looking at inside the red outline. The property totals about 18 acres. It's owned by Debbie V. Joyner. It's on the south side of Cordiality Church Road at Beckwith Road. southeast of the town of Nashville and just west of Interstate 95, which you can see crossing diagonally on the corner of the page there. It is in the R40 single-family residential zoning district as denoted by the green color on the zoning map on the right. The property is currently undeveloped, and as we already discussed, it's immediately adjacent to the 35 lots of the Baybrook Farms subdivision. That subdivision was developed in 2007 in accordance with the currently effective R40 zoning standards. The property will be subject to stormwater management requirements when it's eventually developed. Along the southern property line, there is a 50-foot wide stream that's there's a stream that's subject to a 50-foot wide riparian buffer. Property also has a 30-foot wide easement crossing it for an existing underground natural gas line. This property was subdivided in February of this year into its current configuration, with the front lots having been subdivided away from the remainder in the back. However, the developer has made a different decision and is proposing a different layout. This request is to rezone two parts of the property to two different zoning jurisdictions or classifications. The front portion up here, which would be 6.11 acres directly along Cordiality Church Road, would be rezoned from R40 to RA30 CZ for phase 1 of the development. Phase 1 would be 8 new roadfront lots inside this section of the property. And phase 2 would be the rear almost 12 acres down here, which would be rezoned from R40 to RA40 CZ, and that would consist of 10 slightly larger interior residential lots. Approval of the request would have 3 substantial impacts on the property. Number 1, the minimum lot area on the front portion would be reduced by about 25% from the current 40,000 square feet to 30,000 square feet. But on the larger rear portion, the minimum lot area requirement would stay the same at 40,000 square feet. There are 9 land uses that are permitted for development under some circumstances in the current R40 district that would no longer be permitted under the proposed RA30, RA40 split zoning district. The most notable of those are double-wide manufactured homes, which are permitted currently, but would not be permitted in either of the 2 proposed new zoning districts. And because this is a conditional rezoning request, the subject property can only be developed in accordance with the proposed sketch plan for the Bullock Farm subdivision that we're about to examine. And again, because it's conditional, there's the opportunity for the attachment of reasonable site-specific development conditions with the consent of the applicant. If we turn our attention to the actual subdivision sketch plan, this has been designed by Joyner Keeney. Again, it is referred to as the Bullock Farm subdivision. It is the site plan that's required for this conditional rezoning request. It proposes the development of 18 new residential lots, which is 10 lots fewer than the design that was considered by the board back in July. As we just discussed, phase 1 is on the right-hand side of this dark line here. It consists of lots 1 through 8 on the front portion of the property. 6 of those lots would be accessed directly from Cordiality Church Road, and lots 6 and 7 would be required to be accessed from a private access easement that would be put in right here. Phase 2 of the project would upgrade that section of road from an access easement to a public road NCDOT standard and extend it back to the cul-de-sac. And then phase 2 would also include the 10 additional slightly larger lots. So the minimum lot size on this side of the line is 30,000 square feet, and the minimum lot size on the left side of that little line would be 40,000 square feet, which is equivalent to the adjacent Baybrook Farms subdivision lot sizes. The previous design had a stub road connection off to the bottom of the screen here to the adjacent property. However, that was removed in this design due to the property's limited size over there on that side of the property line and the fact that it has existing access to Beckwith Road. All of the lots that are shown either meet or exceed the dimensional standards that apply to the zoning district that they would be located in. And of course, the developer would be required to construct a new water line within the subdivision to connect each of these new lots to the existing Nash County public water system. If we turn our attention to the land development plan, this request is consistent with the recommendations of the plan because as you can see from the yellow color on the map, the plan designates this entire area as suburban growth area. The plan supports rezoning property within that area where public water service is available to either RA30 or RA20 at the board's discretion. As we discussed, the subject property has access to the Nash County Public Water Service, and that's via a 6-inch water line that is already installed along Cordiality Church Road. And permitting higher density residential development will help to accommodate the significant residential growth that the plan projects for this area. When we consider spot zoning and a question as to whether this rezoning request is reasonable or not, the request may be considered reasonable and in the public interest because it is not unreasonable spot zoning. It would be less dense than a relatively recent rezoning of almost 45 acres, only about a quarter mile northwest of the subject property on Barnes Hill Church Road. That was rezoned in January of this year to RA20 CZ, which of course is more dense than the proposal before you today. That was for the development of the Baker Farm subdivision. The subject property already is and will continue to be zoned for residential use, similar to the adjacent and surrounding properties. And while approval of the request allows slightly smaller lot areas and slightly increased residential density, at least on the front portion of the property, both of these new zoning districts are also more restrictive in terms of what land uses are permitted, specifically through the prohibition of manufactured homes. I mentioned at the beginning of the report that the developer had an opportunity to meet with the residents of the Baybrook Farms subdivision, so I want to briefly outline some of those residents' concerns and how they were addressed or not by the developer. First of all, the adjacent residents were concerned about prohibiting manufactured single-wide and double-wide homes as well as modular homes within the subdivision. Both of the proposed zoning districts are RA zones, meaning that they prohibit manufactured single-wide or double-wide homes. And the applicant has agreed to establish a property owners association, which the covenants for that association would restrict modular homes as well. So the result of that would be that stick-built homes only would be permitted within the subdivision. Secondly, the neighbors were concerned about the preservation of trees on the subject property, which currently serve to mitigate the noise from traffic along the nearby Interstate 95. I would point out that most of the existing vegetation that's directly along Interstate 95 actually falls on other properties that don't belong to the developer. But the developer did agree to establish a private 50-foot wide easement around the perimeter of the property where there are existing trees and vegetation to preserve those. The buffer would prohibit the cutting of already existing trees with the exception of allowing for the removal of sick, dead, or otherwise unsafe trees. That buffer would be enforceable by the county as a condition of the rezoning and as a property owners association requirement for the lot owners in phase 1. So you'll note that, excuse me, I should have said phase 2. In phase 1, there really is no existing vegetation, and the vegetation we're talking about preserving is in the rear, and it would be a 50-foot buffer around the perimeter, starting right about here, coming down, going across, and then coming back up around the kind of a U shape around the bottom of the property. The buffer would also be enforced by the state along the southern property line because of that riparian stream buffer that I noted earlier. The third major concern or request of the adjacent property owners was for a privacy or noise barrier of some kind, either a fence, a soil berm, or a vegetated buffer along this shared boundary between the subject property and the Baybrook Farms subdivision. The applicant has not agreed to provide a privacy or noise barrier along that property line, and Nash County historically hasn't required buffers between adjacent residential developments, particularly when they have equivalent lot sizes. So these will be 40,000 square foot lots, and everything lower below this line will also be 40,000 square foot lots. Of course, that leaves each individual lot owner with the right to erect their own fences, berms, or vegetated buffers as desired. Another concern of the neighborhood has been the potential impact of the additional homes on the local public water system capacity and the existing fire hydrants in the area. Our county public utilities department has not yet received an actual design plan for the new water line within the interior of the subdivision, but the department does state that the county would not approve a design that would be harmful to the other existing water customers in the area. And they note that our public water system, like most rural water systems, is not intended to provide full fire protection, although there are areas of the county where the system is capable of doing so. The Technical Review Committee considered this request back on August the 4th and recommended approval, subject to some sketch plan revisions that are listed in the report, as well as some development conditions. The Nash County Planning Board held a public meeting on this request back on August the 15th. Mr. Donald Rogers of 4044 Baybrook Road addressed the board to request the installation of a minimum 6-foot-high year-round visual screening buffer. That would be along that shared property line between the two subdivisions that we previously discussed. Mr. Richard Anderson of 4012 Baybrook Road addressed the board with concerns regarding existing water pressure issues affecting the residents of Baybrook Farms, and I have passed those concerns along to our Public Utilities Department. Ultimately, the planning board voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request based on its consistency with the land development plan and a determination that it is reasonable and in the public interest. In the board's packet, you have a motion to approve the zoning map amendment and a motion to deny the zoning map amendment. With each motion, there's a statement of plan consistency and reasonableness that we would like the board to reference. In the motion to approve, there is a list of 8 sketch plan revisions. None would dramatically impact the design of the subdivision that you have on the screen in front of you. And then there are 7 recommended development conditions that are very standard for our residential rezonings. I would note that it specifically says lots 6 and 7 must be accessed by the new interior road and would not have individual driveways along Cordiality Church Road. Development condition number 6 references that 50-foot wide buffer to preserve trees and natural area. With that, I will pause and take any questions that the board has on the staff report before we proceed to the public hearing.
Any questions of Adam at this time?
I've got one question.
Okay.
Adam, on the map, you see the cul-de-sac going in, and then there's a hash line going up the property. What is that line? About a quarter of the way in?
This line
No, back up.
to the
Towards
left?
the road.
This?
Yes.
That's the break point between phase 1 on the right and phase 2 on the left. So on the right side of that line, it would be rezoned RA 30, and these lots could be as small as 30,000 square feet. But on the left side of that line, the lots would continue to have to be 40,000 square feet, which would match the adjacent subdivision.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Tyson.
Sir.
This time I call for a motion to go into public hearing on this matter.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing to consider this rezoning matter. If there's someone here that wishes to speak for or against this rezoning. The board would be glad to hear from you at this time. If you would step forward to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Anyone here wishing to speak on this item? Seeing no one moving, I would ask to have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Combs, second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Public hearing is now closed. Any other questions from commissioners on this matter at this time?
Just have one question.
Sure.
Regarding Phase 1 and Phase 2, is there any projection regarding timing for Phase 2?
I would refer that question to the developer, who's represented this morning by Mr. Blair Alford with Joyner Keeney.
Would you expect that to be within a year or 2 years, or what would you expect?
I'd have to ask that question. I don't have the answer.
Okay.
Other questions from commissioners? Pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
first I want to say that this has been a process that's taken months to come to where we are today. And I appreciate the developer, and I appreciate the residents working together to come from where we were to where we are. We've come from 20s to 30s on the roadway, a small number, and 40s on the interior. And I have worked with a contact person for the Baybrook area, and it is my understanding, as well as dealing with residents individually, that this is an acceptable layout for the residents. If that's not the case, then I've been misled, but I think it's a reasonable compromise, and I'm glad that we've been able to come to this point today. So with that said, I would make a motion that we approve the conditional rezoning request, subject to the statement of plan consistency and reasonableness listed below in the agenda, and subject to the sketch plan revisions and development conditions in the agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and have a second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Tyson. If you want to move forward with item number 8, which is a... Sure, thank you, Blair. Thank you for the residents that's here today. Item 8 is additional public hearing on conditional use rezoning CZ 220802, which is from Wake Stone / asphalt. It's from Wake Stone on a proposal for an asphalt plant, and call on Mr. Tyson to make this presentation at this time.
This is an industrial conditional rezoning request. The subject property is outlined in red on the left and in yellow on the right on the zoning map. It is about 26 acres of land consisting of all or portions of 3 existing parcels owned by the Wake Stone Property Company. It's on the south side of North Halifax Road, just west of I-95. And you can see I-95 in the photo here. And of course, the Gold Rock interchange would be off to the right-hand side of the map to the east. Site is directly across the road from the Wake Stone Corporation Nash County Quarry, which is also pictured on the opposite side of the road there, and the existing Fred Smith Company Gold Rock asphalt plant, which is on the right-hand side of the quarry operation. It's also located between the existing Gold Point residential subdivision to the west, and you can see those residential lots with existing homes down here in the corner of the map, and the original Log Cabin Homes Information Center and Sales Office to the east. That would be this triangular property here, immediately adjacent to the subject property. This property was previously rezoned by the board in July of 1997 at the request of Wake Stone Corporation to its current status as GCCU, General Commercial Conditional Use. And you can see that all 3 of these parcels were zoned in that red color in 1997. It was zoned and approved for relatively broad commercial use with screening requirements, but the site was never subsequently developed after that point. There is no public water or sewer service currently available, so future development will utilize a private on-site well and septic system or a pump and haul contract system. This rezoning request was submitted by the property owner to rezone the property to GICZ, General Industrial Conditional Zone, in order to relocate that existing Fred Smith Company Gold Rock hot mix asphalt batch plant that I referenced being on the north side of the road, to relocate and expand that operation to the south side of the road. This is the proposed site plan for the property. It's at a different angle than what we were just looking at. So this is Interstate 95, and this is Halifax Road down here with the driveways off of that. The site plan depicts the facility itself located toward the front of the property. There's kind of a cluster of buildings noted here. The majority of the remainder of the property will be used for outdoor storage of aggregate and recycled asphalt. In that cluster of buildings, there's included an office, a laboratory, a motor control center, and storage sheds. They're accessed, as I noted, directly from North Halifax Road by 2 gated driveways, one here and then the second driveway there. The exterior perimeter of the site includes a 75-foot wide screening buffer surrounded by 6-foot high opaque fencing. So all the way around the perimeter of the property is a 75-foot wide buffer, and then the fencing would be on the exterior of that. There are some portions of the buffer from here to here and from there to there that consist of existing vegetation that will be preserved on the site to block the view of the site. But where the facility is immediately adjacent to other development, such as the Gold Point subdivision here, which touches at one corner right there, or the original log cabin home facility over here, instead of just preserving the existing vegetation, the site plan proposes a 20-foot high vegetated earthen berm. If you're familiar at all with the berms around the actual quarry operation on the opposite side of the road, these berms would mirror those and be very consistent with that same size and design. Just inside that buffer area is a 20-foot wide gravel haul road that encircles the perimeter of the site. So there's a buffer all the way around, but extra buffering with that 20-foot high berm adjacent to the residential subdivision over here and adjacent to the commercial log cabin home site over here. The plan includes 2 proposed locations for stormwater control measures that may be needed for water runoff control and nutrient management purposes under the applicable stormwater requirements. The applicant has already located the existing wetlands and a potential jurisdictional ditch on the site plan. You can see that with the shading here and then the jurisdictional ditch here that goes into the buffer. Obviously, there's going to need to be some permitting by the state for the development that's proposed inside that wetland, and that is included as a condition of this rezoning. The Wake Stone Corporation hosted an information session back on August the 4th at the quarry site to discuss this rezoning request with the nearby residents and interested members of the public. This is a conditional rezoning, so it allows for the attachment of conditions with the consent of the applicant. When we turn our attention to the land development plan, you'll see that the request is mostly consistent with the recommendations of the plan for establishing non-residential land uses in this suburban growth area. I'll note that the purple on the east side of I-95 is already designated in the old plan or the current plan for industrial growth. The west side of I-95, despite the existence of the quarry operation, is not designated in the old plan for industrial growth. That has been remedied in the proposed draft plan that we're in the process of reviewing now. But it is designated as suburban growth area, and there are standards in the suburban growth area for non-residential uses. The first is that the proposed land use should not require public water or sewer service. And of course, this one can be accommodated by a private on-site well and septic system, so it meets that requirement. The subject property has frontage along and direct access to North Halifax Road, which is a state-maintained secondary road, so it meets that requirement. The subject property is located in proximity to the major interchange of I-95, NC Highway 4 and NC Highway 48 at Gold Rock, just to the east of the scope of the map there. And the subject property is already located in proximity to other similar land uses, including the existing quarry and asphalt plant directly across the road, as well as the Whitaker Business and Industry Center, which is an industrial center on the opposite side of I-95 in this area. The subject property is located in proximity to the existing residential development of the adjacent Gold Point subdivision down here. However, the substantial proposed screening measures that we discussed should serve to mitigate the potential impact of the facility on those surrounding properties. This request may be considered reasonable and in the public interest because the property was already designated for non-residential development as far back as July 1997, when it was rezoned for commercial use. The request is not considered spot zoning because it would be an expansion of the already existing GI in the purple color here on the north side of the road to include this portion of the property on the south side of the road. The Technical Review Committee considered this request back on August the 4th and recommended approval, subject to some development conditions. The Nash County Planning Board considered this request at a public meeting on August 15th. Mr. Sam Bratton, president of Wake Stone Corporation, addressed the board in support of the request, and no other members of the public addressed the board at that meeting. The Planning Board ultimately voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request, based on it being mostly consistent with the recommendations of the Land Development Plan and a determination that the request is reasonable and in the public interest. There is a suggested motion to approve the zoning map in your packet, as well as a suggested motion to deny the zoning map amendment. Both include statements of plan consistency and reasonableness. The motion to approve includes 4 development conditions that are recommended by the TRC and by the Planning Board. And among those is a requirement that the properties be legally combined together into that perimeter that you see on the site plan prior to construction. Also, it references the need to install and maintain the screening measures that were discussed, and it outlines a number of permits from other state government agencies that will be required prior to pursuing construction of the facility. With that, I will pause and take any questions that the board has of the staff report before we proceed to the public hearing.
All right, I failed to mention up front, this is in Mr. Commissioner Arrington's district. Any questions of Adam at this time from commissioners? Seeing none, thank you. Mr. Tyson. Entertain a motion at this time to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Arrington, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing to hear from anyone that's here to speak for or against this requested rezoning matter. And the board would be glad to hear from you if you'd come forward at this time and state your name and address for the record. Anyone wish to speak? Seeing no movement, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Motion does carry. Any other questions from the board at this time?
Yeah, this company located in Wake County?
The parent company is located in Wake County. Actually, the people that own the land are located in Wake County, but of course, they're already located here and have been for a number of years with Wake
I was
Forest.
wondering if it was the same company as a Wake Stone.
Yes, sir, it is.
In
When you
Wake
see it,
County.
Nightdale with the
Yeah,
beautiful
nice,
facility
Nightdale.
going in on the right, yes, sir. And the company that is building the asphalt plant, I'm guessing is probably based out of Johnson County, maybe Wake County, but anyway, they purchased the former Rose Brothers Asphalt, and grading company here that was in Nash County. Other questions? Seeing none, pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to say that first, Mr. Braxton, your staff, just stand up there so they'll know who you are. The other, okay, yeah, the rest of your team, there, y'all all stand up. Okay, all right. Well, like I said, Mr. Braxton, they've been in contact with me and the chairperson as far as this development is concerned, and they had a meeting with the community as an information session, and I think they've taken the right approach to expanding this operation. And at this time, I move that the Nash County Board of Commissioners approve conditional rezoning request CZ 220802 to rezone the specified property to ZICZ to authorize the relocation of the existing asphalt plant from the opposite side of the road and adopt the statement plan of consistency and reasonableness as stated in the recondition statement.
Can we also add, including the development conditions,
Yes,
the 4 development conditions below that?
right, those
Okay,
statement of plan of consistency and reasonableness.
right. I have a motion, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on that motion? I too would like to thank the applicant for the way they went about this. I know they're included in many rezonings throughout the state from time to time, but they did a great job coming to Nash County ahead of it, meeting with the commissioner of the added district and also meeting with the people in the district, and mitigated what could have been some controversy, I think. I don't know how it could have been so much, but I do want to thank them for taking the time to do that, and look forward to having the Fred Smith asphalt plant expanded for future work in Nash County, as well as state work up and down I-95 in this area. But with that said, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries as well, and thank you, gentlemen. Look forward to seeing it move forward. All right, we'll move on to item number 9, which is an additional public hearing on conditional rezoning request CZ 220803, Winters Road, and a carpentry shop there, and it is in Mr. Combs' district. Mr. Tyson?
This is a commercial rezoning. The subject property is just a little over 4 acres. It's outlined in red on the aerial photo on the left, and again on the zoning map on the right. It is a portion of an approximately 28-acre larger tract of land owned by Artemio Escalante and Gabriela Garibe. It's on the west side of Winters Road in the R40 single-family residential zoning district. It's just west of the town of Bailey, and as you can see at the bottom of the screen, it is just north of the US Highway 264 bypass. The property owners who are bringing this rezoning are currently operating Infinity Cabinets, a carpentry cabinetry shop, in the backyard of the residentially zoned lot at 2749 Tanbark Drive in the Benbrook subdivision, just southeast of the town of Nashville. That is a commercial use in violation of the residential zoning requirements of that district. They have submitted this rezoning request in order to rezone the subject property to RCCZ, Rural Commercial Conditional Zone. and that is to construct a 4,000 square foot carpentry cabinetry shop building in order to relocate the business to this site in compliance with the applicable UDO requirements. The aerial photo in this case doubles as the site plan for the project. The 4,000 square foot carpentry shop is indicated in this blue rectangle right here, and you can see that it's a considerable distance from the adjacent properties to the north and south and west. The front portion of the property, or the majority of the property, is not included in the rezoning request, and that is to accommodate the potential addition by the property owners of a residential dwelling in the future. This is a conditional rezoning request, so there is the opportunity to attach conditions with the consent of the applicant. When we turn our attention to the land use plan, you will see this request is partially consistent with the plan's recommendations for establishing non-residential land uses in this suburban growth area. First of all, the proposed land use does not require public water or sewer utility service to function, and it can be accommodated by a private on-site well and septic system. The proposed land use is limited in scope by the submitted site plan and the proposed conditions of the rezoning request. And when I say it is limited in scope, I mean that even though we are rezoning a 4-acre rear portion of the lot, there can be no additional buildings within that area other than the 4,000 square foot shop building without the applicant coming back and amending that site plan through the planning board and through the Board of Commissioners. So they are restricted to just that shop at this time, even though the property that's being rezoned is larger than that. The subject property has frontage along and direct access to Winters Road, a state-maintained secondary road, and the property is spatially separated from any existing dense residential development. However, I do need to note that it's not consistent with the plan because it's not located at a major intersection. This is not an actual interchange for the 264 bypass, so it's not specifically at a major intersection, and it's not in proximity to any similar existing commercial land uses. This request would likely be considered spot zoning because there is no other commercially zoned property in the area, but it could also still be considered reasonable and in the public interest at the discretion of the board because the relative isolation of this property, as well as its location immediately adjacent to the highway bypass, would serve to muffle the woodworking noise of the carpentry cabinetry shop that is, as you can imagine, problematic in its current location in a residential subdivision. The Technical Review Committee considered this request back on August the 4th and recommended approval subject to suggested development conditions. The Planning Board held a public meeting on August 15th. There were no members of the public present to address the board with regard to the request at that time. The Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request based on it being partially consistent with the recommendations of the Land Development Plan and a determination that the request would be reasonable spot zoning and in the public interest. There are motions in your packet for both approval and denial. Both reference a statement of plan consistency and reasonableness. The motion for approval includes 4 development conditions that would restrict development of the site for a carpentry cabinetry shop only. It would restrict development of the site to the approved site plan, meaning only the proposed shop building that is currently shown. There would be no outdoor storage of materials, products, or equipment permitted on the site. And prior to constructing the actual shop, they would need to obtain a driveway permit from NCDOT, a well and wastewater permit from the county, and zoning, building, and trade permits from the county. With that, I will pause and take any questions that the board has on the staff report before the public hearing.
Commissioners have any questions, Mr. Tyson?
I got one. To access this 4 acres, they're going to have to go across the other property. Is that right? Is that where the...
That's right. The driveway will come from Winters Road across this property back here. But I would note that even though this is going to be a zoning line, it's not going to be a property line. So this will continue to be a part of this larger, about 30-acre property. So they wouldn't need an access easement unless they actually subdivided that off into a separate piece of property in the future.
Okay.
Other questions, Mr. Tyson? Thank you, Mr. Tyson. Entertain a motion to go into public hearing on this matter at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Combs, there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Motion does carry, and ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing to hear from anyone in the public that wishes to speak for or against this item. If there is someone here that wishes to speak, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Anyone wish to speak at this time? Seeing no movement, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries as well. Any commissioner have additional questions of staff on this matter? If not, pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Combs.
I move the Nash County Board of Commissioners approve this conditional rezoning request to CZ 220803. Well, from that to rezone it to RCCZ for cabinet shop and adopt a statement of consistency in the following development conditions.
Any questions on that motion? Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second. All right, Mr. Leggett. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries as well, and hope it goes well for you folks. Appreciate you being here this morning.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a public hearing and resolution of, for a resolution of property sale, and I'll call on someone that's not quite here yet. Who has the next two items? Anybody need a short break? My next two speakers, neither one of them are here.
I can certainly handle this first one.
All right, that'd be great. Proceed then, Mr. Durham.
This is a public hearing for an economic development sale by Nash County of 5 acres in the Middlesex Corporate Center, being purchased by an entity that we're calling Project Fort. They hope to close soon. It's to sell 5 acres at $20,000 an acre. The resolution was prepared by Ms. Phelps and reviewed by me. And because it's an economic development project, we need to have a public hearing. Happy to answer any questions. They intend to construct an office for a residential development company on this property.
Any questions of Mr. Durham? Mr. Hague, if you'll come on forward, we are actually on item number 10. Mr. Durham went on and presented the sale of the property and the fact we had a resolution. Any questions of any commissioner of Mr. Hague or Mr. Durham? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to go into public hearing on this matter.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, second by Commissioner Combs. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion does carry. And ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a public hearing to hear from anyone that wishes to speak to the board about the sale of this property that has recently been purchased by the county. Anyone here wish to speak? Seeing no one, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, seconded by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Any other questions from commissioners? Public hearing is now closed. Pleasure of the board. I entertain a motion to approve
Make a motion to approve the request.
the request. I got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Any opposed by a like sign? That motion carries. Mr. Haggett, we'll move on to item number 11, which is a Duke Energy power easement / Middlesex Corporate Center.
All right, thank you, Chairman, and apologize for that lateness. Yeah, this is an approved easement allowing Duke Energy to construct a three-phase power extension along the Middlesex Corporate Parkway. Behind the current right-of-way the easement will allow Duke Energy to begin construction and extension of the power from US 264A through the park via the internal road, corporate parkway. So we need an improvement for this agreement so we can proceed with to allow Duke Energy to proceed with the construction of the three-phase power.
Questions of Mr. Haggett on this matter?
Is that easement for utility lines?
Yeah, electric power, underground.
Yeah, but that's why I asked.
Yeah. Yeah. So it meets our protective covenants and will provide a nice aesthetic-looking developed park.
Andy, I should know, but this thing moved around so much, this easement. Where did it end up? Is it coming right down right away then?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're going to be crossing 264A overhead line, entering at the east entrance of the park, coming up through the corporate parkway on the north side of the park.
Is the line eventually going to go all the way to tie to the other end by the clinic?
Yeah, I'm assuming they will be doing that for several different reasons, but
Okay.
yes.
Just for a secondary feed, okay.
And in order to, just FYI, for to serve Synovotech in the Shell building we just sold, they are having, or will, maybe having to come up from the rear where the temporary line is currently being served, the Shell building. So they're going to use that access to speed up the three-phase service for Synovotech.
Okay.
Coming up from the rear of the Shell building.
That will eventually be done away with, I guess.
Yes, yeah, they'll replace it, three-phase.
Right. All right. Any other questions? Dan, do you have a question? No. Okay. All right, entertain a motion for approval.
Make a motion to approve the request.
Moved by Commissioner Combs, there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Move to item number 12, which is Community Development Block Grant Neighborhood Revitalization. I'll call on Mr. McGee at this time to make this presentation. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Morning. The Nash County 2018 Community Development Neighborhood Revitalization Program is coming to a close. This program involved the paving of a dirt road, associated storm drainage improvements, the rehabilitation of 2 homes, and the replacement of 2 homes. McDavid Associates served as the project manager. A public hearing is required to close the program. The North Carolina Department of Commerce is still likely to monitor the program, and the Finance Department will handle the closeout of the grant project budget ordinance. Not today. The budget for this program included $750,000 in CDBG NR funds, matched by $5,000 in local funds. Nash County would also like to request that Peel Drive, which was constructed to standards of the North Carolina Department of Transportation, be added to the NC State-maintained secondary road system. Peel Drive is located in southern Nash County off of Winters Road near Bailey. Bobby Liverman of NCDOT has been consulted and given a preliminary review of our request, and he's expecting this resolution. In your packet, you should find a copy of the newspaper ad for the public hearing, a request for addition to state-maintained secondary road system resolution, a Peel Drive subdivision map, and a Peel Drive GIS map. And our recommendation is to hold the public hearing and approve the resolution.
Any questions of Ms. McGee? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wolf Leggett, second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a public hearing to hear from anyone in the public that wishes to speak on this matter. And if you do wish to speak on this community development block grant, please come forward at this time and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no one and recognizing everyone in the room, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Moved by Commissioner Belfield, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries, and the public hearing is now closed, and now I would entertain a motion to approve or deny the resolution. Approve, vote please.
Move approval.
Moved by Commissioner Leggett for approval of the resolution, second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? That motion carries as well. Closes out item number 12. Ms. McGee, if you'll move on to item number 13, which is Down East Home Consortium.
Okay. In October 2021, Nash County entered into a home reinvestment partnership fund reconciliation agreement with the City of Rocky Mount, which is the lead agency of the Down East Home Consortium. Although Nash County is no longer a member of the Down East Home Consortium, there were and are remaining funds allocated for previous years that need to be utilized in Nash County. As a subrecipient, Nash County administers its part of the Down East Home Consortium program with assistance from a qualified consultant, McDavid Associates. The reconciliation agreement provides for the rehabilitation of owner-occupied, low to moderate income, single-family housing in Nash County, with priority given to households located in the jurisdictions of current and past members of the Down East Home Consortium, particularly those with remaining unspent allocations. Nash County is administering 2021, 2022 current year funds for municipalities located wholly or partly in Nash County, which includes Whitakers, Middlesex, and Spring Hope. That was amendment number 1. We now propose to also administer 2022, 2023 current year funds for the same municipalities, which will be amendment number 2. And that will mean an additional $19,658 in budget for housing rehabilitation in Nash County through this program. And Finance will present a related budget amendment later in this meeting. In addition, we also ask for approval of a resolution, which is in your packet, and that will give authority for signatories similar to that of our other housing programs as we move into the construction phase. And we will have several rounds of bids for the housing repairs and likely award contracts to several contractors. On September 2nd, we opened bids for 5 homes, and we hope to soon be able to award these contracts after a thorough review of the submissions. Attachments in your packet include the second amendment to the Home Reinvestment Partnership Fund Reconciliation Agreement and the Nash County Signatories Resolution. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Questions for Ms. McGee on this subject? Thank you, ma'am. Entertain a motion for approval of the request.
Move approval.
Moved by Commissioner Belfield, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
McGee, Tyson.
Yes, sir.
Here's something I wanted to share with you is about a lot of grants that you might, you can probably find it online, but it's in the county news there, so I thought I would bring it and give it to you.
Thank you very much.
All right, that gets us to item number 14, and we're moving along pretty well. Monthly tax reports. I'll call on Doris Sumner at this time. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. As you said, this time I'd like to present the monthly tax report. You know, it's in keeping with General Statute 105-360, the tax collector will be providing a monthly report to the commission to state the status of where we are in the tax collector's office. It is recommended that you accept the report so that it be noted in the minutes. And if you have any questions, I would be glad to answer on that.
You had a report in your package. Anyone have any questions on it? Must be doing a great job, Ms. Summer. No questions?
Thank you.
All right, report is noted for the record.
Thank you, sir. And the next item I have are tax refunds, and we do not have any for this month for consideration.
Okay, don't have any tax refunds. We'll move to item number 16 then.
Okay, and item 16 is reappointment of the county tax assessor. According to North Carolina General Statute 105-294, county assessor states that the county board of commissioners of each county shall appoint a county assessor to serve a term of not less than 2, no more than 4 years. I could read the general statute if you want, but I think it's in your package as well.
It was in the packet. I don't know that we really need to read it. If the
Okay.
commissioner wants to hear it, we'll sure let you read it, but I don't think so. I
Okay.
think we're good. And the request is a motion to appoint for a 2-year term.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You and I might need to discuss that later. I'd entertain a motion this time to appoint Doris Sumner to an additional 2-year term as the tax assessor for Nash County.
So moved.
Second.
I got 6 motions and 6 seconds, which attributes to the job that you must be doing for us, ma'am. I think I heard Mr. Coleman first in the motion, and maybe Mr. Bellfield for the second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries, and we certainly look forward to the next 2 years of having you continue the job that and your staff is currently doing. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the board for all your support. Yep, thank you.
All right, next item is item number 17, which is Pet Connection Center Project Change Order. Call on Mr. Boone at this time. Mr. Boone, good morning, sir.
Good morning. The matter we have before your consideration today is a change order on the Pet Connection Center project. You may recall when we opened bids back in April of this year, we discussed a number of ad alternates on that project, one of which was the use of a multi-part epoxy floor covering in the rear of the facility where animals will be housed. And at that time, the low bidder had a number on that ad alternate that caused us to question whether we want to move forward with that item or not. We revisited that with the low bidder R&L Builders, and they have come back with a revised proposal of $42,000, which was more closely aligned with some of the numbers that were in the other bids. It's interesting to note, and I think you would want to know, that we have also had a conversation with Dr. Dan Crocker, who is the, probably use the incorrect term, but I'll call him the executor of the trust for Dr. Nancy Shaw, who's providing quite a bit of the funding for this project, and he has agreed to provide the additional funds required to cover this work. So what we'd like to do today is bring forward the change order for your consideration and approval, again with the understanding that the cost of this work will actually be covered by a future allocation of funding from, again, Dr. Shaw's trust fund.
Any questions of Mr. Boone on this matter?
Have they started any construction yet?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering, coming with a change order so soon.
Well, actually, it's not the change order type that we normally would have. It's actually an alternate in the bid that we chose not to award when we awarded the most of the bid, because we saw an opportunity where we might save some funds by looking at other people to do this epoxy floor, and as it did, we saved some
$23,000.
$23,000. And also, we didn't have the funds at the time, and they have come forward, as Mr. Boone stated, since the bids were let, and so it's going to make a much better floor system in the rear of the facility. So it's a win-win, short and long of it. Any other questions? Entertain a motion for approval of the change order.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. We'll move on to item number 18, which is, and I guess I see why the sheriff come in. A change order for the detention facility addition and renovation. Mr. Boone?
He's just here for moral support.
Is that what it
Here to
is?
support.
Fair enough.
All right, thank you, sir. So next item we have before you, again, referring to projects that are underway, Commissioner Belfield. As you're aware, work continues on the addition renovation project for the Nash County Detention Facility. And the items I have for your consideration today, a couple items, change orders on the project. One is a sump pump that is needed underneath the elevator shaft. That will be part of the new addition, the 94-bed addition that is under construction and is expected to be completed in late January of 2023. And then the second part of that change order is for revisions to the fenced-in Sally Port that will be located by the old Sally Port near the entrance to the jail. Some issues were brought forward during the review of the project plans, were flagged by the Fire Marshal's Office. The State Fire Marshal's Office required some additional revisions to that, those improvements to address some concerns about emergency egress from the courthouse and the sheriff's office. So those amendments amounted to $55,450.85. And then the sump pump, which I mentioned first, for the elevator shaft, $14,066.92, for a total of $69,517.77, which, if approved, would bring the total contract amount for the project to $18,166,756.81. That said, I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Questions of Mr. Boone on this item? What change order is this, Mr. Boone?
I believe this is change order 4.
4, okay.
Sorry, 3.
3. I see it now, thank you. All right, there's no questions, I entertain a motion for approval.
Make a motion, we approve the change order.
Have a motion by Commissioner Combs, second by Commissioner Leggett. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries and the change order is approved.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We'll move on now to item number 19, Nash County Middlesex Corporate Center Shell Building number 2 and Highway 97 Industrial Park Shell Building number 1. Mr. Boone?
Yes, sir. As commissioners are aware, Nash County is proposing to construct its second shell building at the Middlesex Corporate Center and its first shell building at the NC97 Industrial Park. As part of that process, which will basically replicate the process that the county used when constructing shell building 1 in Middlesex, we're using the design, build, bridging process. That is a process that is outlined by the state in the general statutes. And as part of that process, the county is required to designate a staff design professional. Since the tax assessor appointment is no longer available, I took the opportunity to self-nominate myself as the staff design professional for this project and have a resolution in your packet for your consideration, hopefully approval, that would meet again, the requirements outlined in the state statutes and allow us to move forward with each of those 2 projects. The time frame we're currently on, we anticipate advertising the Shell Building 2 project later this month. And then we're following that up into this year, first of next year, with the Shell Building project at the NC97 site. With that said, I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions of Mr. Boone on this item?
The 2 shell buildings, How much you anticipate that it may cost? I know you don't have an accurate figure, but
I
how much
believe,
the
I
two-
believe the county received approximately 1.5 million from the
Yeah,
sale
I
of Shell
remember
Building
that.
1.
Yeah.
And I anticipate Shell Building 2 will cost more than $1.5 million. I do not have an exact number yet, but that will be another 60,000 square foot building similar to Shell Building 1. But we know it will cost more than the first Shell Building. And then Shell Building 1 in the 97 site, that's actually going to be a 100,000 square foot building. And we're also working on the project budget for that project as well. So that's yet to be determined.
We are still headed in the direction of tilt-up exterior on the larger building, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Not entertain a motion to approve the request.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on that motion? Before we vote, I'd certainly like to thank Mr. Boone for being willing to step forward to take the role of the design professional on staff, since he may well be the only one on staff that could take that role. I know he really doesn't want to be the tax assessor anyway, so all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries, and again, thank you on behalf of the board for being willing to do it, Mr. Boone.
No problem.
We'll move on to item number 20, which is the Dorchester Sewer System Rehabilitation Project.
Yes, sir. Again, another ongoing project. You may recall when we awarded contract 1 early last month for the sewer relining there in Dorchester. As I mentioned, there was a second contract that we had advertised at the time. We did not have the required 3 bidders to open the bids on that project, but it involved the relining of the sewer manholes and the wet wells for the 2 pump stations that the county owns there in Dorchester. Again, we re-advertised that project. We're able to open bids on Thursday, August 18th. Received 2 bids, one from HG Reynolds and a second from Step Construction. At that time, HG Reynolds was identified as a low bidder in the amount of $137,510. Based on the receipt of that bid, staff recommends that the contract be awarded to HG Reynolds Construction. Any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
Questions of Mr. Boone? This is ARPA funding, if I remember right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Seeing none, entertain a motion to approve the request.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries as well.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Down East Home Consortium Grant Project Ordinance Amendment that Ms. McGee mentioned would be coming earlier, and we call on Donna Boone to make this presentation.
Donna Wood.
Donna Wood.
Okay, good morning.
Why does it say Donna Boone? Sir?
I am Donna Boone Wood.
You are Donna Boone Wood.
I am Donna Boone.
So you knew her in her previous life? Okay, I understand that. Thank you.
Okay. As Ms. McGee indicated, in October 2021, Nash County entered into a reconciliation agreement with the City of Rocky Mount, the lead agency of the Down East Home Consortium. Nash County is no longer a member of the Down East Home Consortium. However, remaining funds have been allocated for previous years that need to be used in Nash County. As part of the agreement, Nash County administers its part of the remaining funds from the Down East Home Consortium program with assistance from qualified consultants. This amendment that I have before you is presented to update the ordinance to include the additional funds in fiscal year 22-23 for Nash County to administer their portion of the program and the participating governments. So it's an increase of $17,254 for administration and $19,658 for housing rehabilitation. There is a typo in the revenue, so if we could fix that for the minutes, it should be $1,100,135 for Amendment 1. Are there any questions on the budget ordinance?
Any questions of Ms. Donna Boone Wood on this matter? Seeing none, entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wilkins. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Leggett. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. I do apologize, I stayed in the water quite a bit the weekend and still have water in my head, so my hearing is worse than normal. Next item is item number 23, budget amendments. No, I actually skipped one. Next item is item number 22, which is Upper Coastal Plain Council of Government Area Agency on Aging Community Source Agricultural Boxes Grant Project Amendment.
So this Nash County Farmers Market has been awarded $460,000 grant from the Upper Coastal Plains Council of Government through the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. These funds will be used for the provision of locally sourced community-supported agriculture boxes distributed to older adults aged 60 and up within Halifax, Edgecombe, Nash, Northampton, and Wilson counties. So it's a new project ordinance for this program.
Is any questions? Ms. Leggett?
What is the time frame for these funds?
It will go from this current year through 2024.
Other questions?
This one is new. I don't recall us discussing this at our last board meeting that we had in August. Maybe it's coming up this month.
Within the farmer's
But,
market, is that what you're?
I'm
You're talking
not
about the
fami-
farmer's
I'm not
market.
familiar, not familiar. I was in the board meeting, I'm not familiar with it. I don't think I missed anything. I was following the agenda. But anyway, it sounds like a good project. But I just didn't, when I saw it on the agenda, I said, well, it was something that we didn't have on our agenda in August that we discussed. But that's no problem. It's just that I didn't know.
She may not have brought it up. With some other ARPA funds, we have had this program before, or it was currently in place, and it ended June 30th of this year. And this was a new opportunity to continue the program or add to the program.
Yeah.
And that's maybe why it wasn't on your agenda.
I think it's a good,
Do you recall?
it's a good project.
Excuse me, Mr. Belfield.
No, I was just saying, following up saying, I think it's a good project.
Do you recall what the funding level was before?
I do not recall.
Okay. Sue, do you know any more about this program that you could tell the board?
Well, it is a continuing program. We participated at least the last 2 years.
Right.
And they were able to coordinate a program to distribute food boxes to seniors at low cost or no cost to the people receiving the boxes, and that the growers were still able to be paid for their produce at fair market price.
It was numerous counties that they've been distributed to. Does all of it come out of our farmers market?
Not all of it.
Okay, so it's
It's a
our
regional effort,
regional effort, so some are coming from some other
I believe so.
markets?
Yes.
Okay.
They're going to try to source the different parts of the box from different parts of the counties that are mentioned.
How do we get them delivered?
We are actually, part of this grant program is allowing for a refrigerated vehicle that goes along with it, that they can be delivered. So it also offers part-time, we get additional part-time
Okay.
employees with this program.
I'm like Mr. Belfield, it sounds like a great program, I just seem like a little bit behind on it, I don't recall it. But
Chairman, it runs a lot like our home delivered meals program. So the distribution, there are drop-off sites in each of the 5 counties.
I got you.
And then volunteers actually come and pick them up and home deliver those boxes.
Okay. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Well, the question I've got after hearing this is, it's part of the ARP, so the boxes are being distributed across 4 or 5 counties. Are you saying that the 4 or 5 counties are contributing to this process, or is this coming out of Nash County's ARP money, or?
This is a separate, this is actually pass-through money from the Upper Coastal Plain of Council of Governments. They received ARPA money.
So it's money from use of Upper Coast Plain, and we're just pass-through, okay.
That
I
is
got you.
correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If it's through Upper Coastal Plain, it's got to be 5 counties.
Right.
Right. All right, entertain the motion for approval.
Move for approval?
Moved by Commissioner Leggett, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bellfield. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well. Next item is item number 23, budget amendments. I think there's 12 of them, Ms. Wood.
Okay, there are 12 amendments. I did indicate in my date, Monday, and let me apologize. I know today is Wednesday, not Monday, September 7th. So just a little correction on the budget amendment format. But for the first amendment, it's with Rural Operating Assistance Program, the ROAP funds. This budget amendment is presented to budget unspent fiscal year 2022 funding from the Rural Operating Assistance Program and adjust the current budget to reflect no additional funding for fiscal year 2023 from the state, but to reallocate those funds that we have existing in the fund balance for these. It's an increase of $57,958. The next item is with Senior Services. At the time the budget was adopted, final funding had not been set for the general purpose grant. This amendment is to adjust the budget to accommodate the additional funds received from the Senior Center and received for the Nash Senior Center and the Southern Nash Senior Center for fiscal year 2023. It's an increase of $3,884. No county funds are requested. Item number 3 is also with Senior Services. At the time the budget was adopted, final funding had not been set for the caregiver grant. This amendment is to adjust the budget to properly reflect funds received with the caregiver grant program. It's actually an overall increase of $1,698. No county funds are requested. The next item is with the Sheriff's Office. This budget amendment is to budget remaining available funds from the 2021 Government Crime Commission Block Grant for the Sheriff's Office. That original grant was $24,000. It's to reuse the $1,669 that's available. The next item is with Grants and Intergovernmental. This budget amendment is to budget remaining available funds from the Golden Leaf Foundation for the Golden Leaf Site Program for the Middlesex Corporate Center Due Diligence Grant. It's rebudgeting $14,980 for that grant. No county funds are required. The next item is with the library. This budget amendment is to budget grant funding for Braswell Memorial Library from the North Carolina Department of Cultural Resources. The LSTA EZ grant funds is from the Federal Library Services and Technology Act for supplies and materials. Nash County is the pass-through agency for this grant. It's a grant of $9,750. No county funds are requested. Next item is with emergency management. This budget amendment is to budget fiscal year 2022 Tier 2 grant funds, which are available for use until February 28th, 2023. This grant is from the North Carolina Division of Emergency Management and supports the hazardous material preparedness activities of the local emergency planning committee as defined in the Emergency Planning Committee Right to Know Act. These funds are to be used by Nash County's local emergency planning committee for hazardous materials, emergency response planning, training, and related exercises. It's $1,000. No county funds are requested. Next item is with Department of Social Services. This budget amendment is presented to budget additional low-income household water assistance program funding available for the Department of Social Services, $28,292. No county funds are required. The next item is with our Rural Transportation and Planning Organization. This budget amendment is to re-budget available grant funds from the North Carolina Department of Transportation associated with the Mountains to Seas State Trail for the connection study for the Neuse River Trail extension in the Johnston County area. It's just to re-budget the $44,821 that were remaining for that project No Nash County funds are required. The next item is also with Rural Transportation Planning. This budget amendment is to budget a grant award from the North Carolina Department of Transportation associated with the Southeast Area Study. This project will be part of the Johnston County area and requires a 5% local match, which will be billed to and paid by Johnston County. Nash County was the lead planning agency when the project was approved for the Upper Coastal Plain Rural Planning Organization, and therefore the grant funding and project invoices will flow through Nash County. It's a grant, it's a project of $75,000. No Nash County funds are required. Item number 11 is with water and sewer funds. This amendment is presented to budget the remaining available funds from the AIA asset inventory grants received for the Central Nash and Northern Nash areas. Additional utility funding is required for the matching requirements and additional project costs. These are budgeted in fiscal year '22 that we need to re-budget in fiscal year 2023. That's $170,530 total. And the last item I have is with water and sewer funds. This amendment is presented to budget the remaining available funds from the North Carolina DEQ wastewater feasibility study grant received for the Central Nash area. It's rebudgeting the $31,716 from that grant that was unspent.
Okay, any questions of Ms. Wood on either of these 12 amendments? Seeing none, entertain a motion for approval.
Move for approval.
Moved by Commissioner Leggett, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. 12 budget amendments stand approved. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
It's just item number 24, which is a resolution authorizing retirement and transfer of ownership of K9 Chase to his handler, Will Tooney. And Mr. Scott Rogers is making that. I was wondering why wasn't nobody at the podium.
Yes, sir. If you remember, last month you did honor the sheriff's request to retire K9 Chase and transfer his ownership to his handler, William Toney. The attached resolution for your approval today just allows us, as required in general statute, to execute that transfer.
Any questions of Mr. Rogers on this? Seeing none, entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Approval.
Motion by Commissioner Wilkins, second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions on the motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion stands approved.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Rogers? Okay. That brings us to item number 25, which is commissioner comments. Any commissioner have any comments to like to make for the betterment of the board or the county?
Mr. Chairman, I've got a comment.
Sure.
All right, I'd just like to take a moment to thank the citizens that came out to get involved in the land use plan process. Several informational meetings were held, and there was opportunity for citizens to give written and online feedback. That committee will meet again tomorrow afternoon to review those results and hopefully incorporate that input into the plan. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone who showed up and expressed their concerns.
Thank you, Commissioner Leggett. Well said. Other comments from commissioners? Mr. Belfield?
My comment at this meeting, probably a follow-up from back when the Forester was here. I was watching the situation in Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, with water problem. Didn't have, the pumps went out because of the flooding, and the number of homes that were destroyed because of the flooding. I think that all over the country, and I'm including Nash County, and when I say that we need to be prepared with the climate has changed apparently. I know they've said we had a flood in '99, said that was a 100-year flood, you probably wouldn't have another. But the way the weather changed, it could happen again here. And I hope that our first responders are preparing themselves just in case. And if they prepare themselves, they can assist other areas. And the forest fires that we're having now, and they blame it on the dry weather, the heat, way over 100 degrees consistently for several days. Those are things that we should not just take for granted. Well, it won't happen here. We need to be prepared for any type of disaster that may happen. And I just hope this actually sink in across the whole nation, because lives are lost, homes are lost, people have to relocate. I know in California they said over 1,000 homes, people had to evacuate, get out of there, and some of them were completely destroyed. Well, we don't know. We can help someone, and someone can help us. I just think we ought to be prepared for those type of situations.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Belfield. I think we all would agree with that. Other comments from commissioners?
Yeah, I just got one.
Yes, sir.
Back to Sue's, the meetings, the public meetings on the land development plan. I just hope that the committee will take seriously the comments you get from the people that sent in comments, emailed them, or filled out the forms. Take it seriously, and don't take it, well, this ain't something we want to include in it. But if you get enough people to comment on the same thing and ask for the same thing, I think you should take it seriously when you meet with your committee.
All right, Mr. Combs. I took the time last night to read every comment that was in that packet, quite frankly. They were very diverse comments. Other comments from commissioners?
One question is, Mr. Hill gave an update on when the booster shot might be available for Nash County resident, the COVID booster.
You're asking when it will be available?
Yes.
I can get with Mr. Hill and get that information to you.
Okay, so the public can know.
Other comments? I'm going to run through just a couple of things very quickly, since we seem to be moving well on the housing permit committee permit lists this month. We still had a pretty active month, falling off some. I saw a change in the type housing, quite frankly, in that we had, I don't want to say only 17 stick-built homes, but 17 is still a good number for Nash County. We did have 17 permits pulled for stick-built homes, and we had 26 permits pulled for modular or double wides or some new single wides throughout the county. So that's a total of 43 homes. There was a shift a little bit in the type homes. That's a pretty drastic change. My quick analysis of that would indicate maybe that because of cost and all, people are looking at other alternatives to provide housing. We had one unique situation, it appears like, where we had 17 single wides put in one section of the county, which I've never seen that before, and I think it may have been replacement homes. I'm not sure exactly what caused that, but something I would look into. But we had a total of 43 new home permits through the county during the month of August, and we had a little over $2 million worth of commercial permits pulled, so still quite a bit going on there. The TDA got a report also about visitors for the last year and what the spending was, and it, of course, was, you can imagine, was much improved over the year before that. This was year 2021 that I'm reporting on, and we had a total of $302 million worth of spending in Nash County due to travel and tourism, or tourism people coming to our county. That was a 39% increase over the year before, which was even more affected by COVID. In comparison, I just picked an adjoining county, which is Wilson, which we normally run pretty parallel with, but we were 302 million, where Wilson County had 125 million, and a 4% increase. So I do think our Travel and Tourism Board does a great job. And of course, as we all know, quite a bit of it is centered around youth sports, either at the sports complex and other ball fields throughout the county, and the relationship that Thomas has developed in helping Rocky Mount, and Rocky Mount helping Thomas with the softball tournaments that he has brought to Nash County, has helped a lot in bringing these in, because he's had them all summer long and filled up hotels all weekend for many weekends throughout. And then you move into the fall season and you have more and more events in the event center over in Rocky Mount, also youth sports that will continue to build on that. So I think that's something we should be very proud of. 302 million was spending in Nash County for the year on travel and tourism. Another thing that I looked at, just because the commissioners kept during the month of August getting notifications of grants that we had applied for and that we received. And so I asked that a spreadsheet be done of those, and it's pretty amazing, quite frankly, and it's not quite just August, but the amazing number to me, because I would normally report what we had got in grants in the state of the county in February each year, but just in the summer that we're just moving out of Labor Day to some indicates the end of the summer, but we have received, now understand this is outside of our ARP funding or CARES Act, but we have received a little over 19 million, actually $19,013,000 in grants in that short period of time. That's certainly a history setter for us, and it's money that will be well spent. I'm not sure who's going to pay all this money back as we move forward, but I think it's just a testimony to our whole department head structure and management administration to stay abreast of these grants that are available. The largest one, of course, is in public utilities, was the grant that we received for our water system and some sewer system of $12.775 million. In addition to that, you had your PARTF grant, you had your IDF grant, which helps down at the Middlesex. So we had the great grant of $4 million, but in all total, during the month of August and a little bit over into July, it's $19 million worth. And in addition to that, we still have grants that we have applied for that we have not heard from, of another $30 million. So we certainly will have a record year, I think, in receiving grants and helping us get some of our major projects done. And I'll just say that shows that our staff administration works very hard to identify these grants and apply for them, and we do in Nash County receive our fair share of them, I think, just because of the way we turn in the requests like they should be, and then more important, we administer them like they should be moving forward. The one thing that commissioners may have picked up this morning, but something that we'll be working on in conjunction with our school board moving forward. Last night, the Edgecombe County Board of Commissioners did vote 5-1 to move forward with taking the 1,800 approximately students back into Edgecombe County school system, which will be coming out of the Nash County school system. So it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of cooperation between the two school boards and between the two boards of county commissioners to make sure we do that. That is in a manner that would least affect kids. And even though it's not in the actual statute that they're working under in doing this, we have, and I hope we all remember it, made a commitment that we would be willing to work with them for anyone that is in high school to allow those students to finish up, whether it be at Rocky Mount Senior High, which were most of them would be, and allow them, if they start high school there, to finish high school there. So It will be a number of meetings come forward. Biggest charge is going to be put between the two school boards to work those things out. But certainly, our Board of Commissioners and the Edgecombe County Board of Commissioners will be the funding agents for those items that do come forward. And it's been a process, some 5 years in the making, and I was glad to see it come to a head. Whatever it was, this board was completely satisfied, I think, with where we were. We had the funding that we thought was now fair, but the vote was taken last night, and it ended up being with one member out of 5-1 vote. And the last thing I was going to mention was about the Land Development Code Committee would be meeting tomorrow night, and Sue has mentioned that and said where we are in that process. So we hope that's another matter that we'll be able to bring to a head and finish up before the end of the year. We'll certainly see. But with that said, any other comments by commissioners?
Well, in connection with the meeting last night.
Yes, sir.
I heard something that I don't believe is true, right? They were saying that Edgecombe County students that's in the Edgecombe County school system are the 5th worst performing schools at the grade level of which the students are in. And I've been following the achievement testing, and I just don't believe that low.
Well, at the meeting, the superintendent of Edgecombe County Schools did rebut some of those statements made in that. I think those came, Fred, from criteria that was just made public one day last week and probably hadn't been analyzed totally properly yet. But she did speak to that during the meeting last night. Mm-hmm. So I expect you will be seeing additional comments about that moving forward. And I haven't seen where Nash County ranked.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen that much difference in following it. There's not that much difference in Nash County students performing achieving at their grade level. Mm-hmm. There's some in Nash that are not, there's some in Edgecombe that are not, and there's some in Nash that are, and there's some in Edgecombe that are achieving at the grade level.
Right.
And I haven't seen that much difference. It may be a slight difference, but I don't believe that report was accurate when it said that Edgecombe County is the 5th worst school system in the way they achievement at grade level.
Sure. I wouldn't know. I do know the superintendent had comments to make about it.
Well, they have those achievement scores come out each year.
Right. And they came out last week.
I've been watching them, and I just don't believe that there was an accurate report.
Right. All right. Okay, if no other comments, we'll move to item number 26, which is the manager report.
Good morning, thank you. And Chairman, thank you for your comments about the grant funding that is coming to Nash County. It is coming left and right, and I certainly thank our seasoned professional management team that is going after those funds. Our citizens are absolutely benefiting from the work that they are doing, and I appreciate it and thank them as well. For the co-responder program for the month of July, there were 19 referrals. I'm sorry, for the month of August, there were 19 referrals. 15 of those were from our Department of Social Services and 4 from our Sheriff's Office. We've mentioned our Economic Development Alliance. I want to thank all of you for putting forth a representative from your district. We do not need to actually adopt those by the board today. They will for accident investigations. So we had 59 employees attend those trainings to learn how to properly conduct accident investigations. Just want to make you, bring you up to date and make sure that you're aware that we have internal committees that are working in the areas of training for staff, morale, policy, Safety, and our United Way. And so those committees are meeting regularly, and you will be having some information presented to you ongoing from those committees. It's already been mentioned by a couple of commissioners about our land use plan meeting tomorrow evening from 4 to 6, where Stuart will present the feedback from the public sessions that we had in the month of August to the committee. There'll be a Charters of Freedom dedication ceremony on Friday, September the 23rd at 10 a.m. And if you need me to, I will say that again.
Please.
There will be a Charters of Freedom dedication ceremony on Friday, September 23rd at 10 a.m. And of course, that's in front of the courthouse where the Charters of Freedom monument has been constructed. Just to follow up from last month, we said that we wanted to get in touch with our Nash County Public School System for our joint meeting, either in October or November, and we're still working on making contact with them to get some dates to present to you. As soon as we have some, we will follow through with that. And if you'll recall, there was a request for staff to put together a list of non-state maintained roads. Scott Rogers has been working on that. He's eliminated the Powellville roads, the state-maintained roads, and is now working with our planning staff on eliminating easements and paths. So as soon as that information is complete, we will pass it on. And Commissioner Arrington, I will follow up with you and the rest of the board on when boosters are available here in Nash County. And that's all I have.
All right, any questions of the manager?
What time is the meeting tomorrow night for the LDP, and is that in this room?
It's in this room from 4 to 6 p.m.
Thank you.
Yeah, what meeting is that?
The land use plan, the
yeah,
committee.
Okay, the land use plan.
Be glad to have any commissioners attend that are free to come. All right, we do have a closed session scheduled, so we'll move to closed session, then see where we are after we get through closed session. You still have lunch coming, or did you cancel it? No, it should be here at 11. Oh, okay. All right. All right, well, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session for economic development, employee qualifications and performance, and several matters of attorney-client privilege. At this time, I'd entertain that motion. Moved by Commissioner Wilkins, there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leggett. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries, and we will reconvene in the Commissioners' conference room, and then we will come out of closed session and come back in this room to adjourn the monthly meeting. So we stand